How's up, everyone? Today, as you've all no doubt been waiting, my review for Dynasty Warriors Origins. So let's cut to the chase. I think it's at least a 9 out of 10 Dynasty Warriors game, though probably reasonably lower if we were to compare it to other games. But anyway, if you want to know why, well then feel free to stick around and listen. Now, I wouldn't say Origins is perfect, but I also feel that most of my complaints are mostly just gripes. I can see the effort they put into this game, and I can say that I'm quite pleased with it. Now, how to explain it in details? Well, I know, let's just go over each topic. I'll talk about what's good and what's gripe. So first, the core gameplay. For years now, Dynasty Warriors have been marked as a mere button-mashing game. A sentiment I don't exactly agree, because that's mainly for playing on a lower difficulty level. If you play on anything worthwhile, you'll actually have to block, or dodge, or sometimes you just get sniped and you die. My point is that you can't just button mash your way out of everything. Well, Origins emphasizes that in its new gameplay, featuring elements no doubt snatched from the likes of Wolong or Three Hopes, along with the usual Dynasty Warriors flair. This time around, you'll need to actually time your attacks and dodge, because the enemy will no longer stagger unless they're in a staggerable state. I guess you can also parry, but timing is everything. You get rewarded for dodging and parrying, a great dopamine rush. And each weapon, there's a fine selection of skills to help you make this happen. In my opinion, combining these things to the existing Dynasty Warriors formula gives me more to do than using the same attack strings over and over as I would have done in Dynasty Warriors. Well, that and dodging or blocking, but you get the point. It's all rather flashy and fun to watch, so feel free to watch my other videos of Origins and see for yourself in action. Still, I do have a bit of a gripe about that, because as detailed as each weapon is, there's only really 9 of them. Okay, maybe there's like 2 more and still be unlocked for players later. Anyway, this leads to many officers using the same few weapons, including the likes of Xu Huang, who would not be able to use the signature axe, or Diao Can using a dagger in her cutscenes, but you can be sure right afterwards she'll pull out a sword in actual gameplay. As compared to the more flavorable Dynasty Warriors 3, let alone 8, it does feel a bit lacking. Yet on the other hand, each weapon has different characteristics, like twin axes have a spammable triangle charge attack, or that Zhang Fei's spear has an ability for you to hold down triangle and absorb damage, and then unleashing a much more powerful charge attack. Kinda like Bide in Pokemon. So, the gripe about the lack of weapons and all sorts of similar movesets from opposing generals, these distinct playstyles make my concerns, well, more of a gripe than really anything else. I can live with it. Anyway, alongside that, you also get to command troops to make attacks on enemies, and a mechanic called critical success, or something of the sort of that, whatever you call them, where, say, if you use archers on a high position, you can deal extra damage and morale loss on top of what you already can do. There are also commands you can make, such as telling troops to defend a point, which might be useful because the strategy layer for this game, I think, demands more of that. See, that leads to another one of my gripes with this game. Your allies die incredibly fast without your direct intervention. Maybe it's because I'm playing on hero difficulty, but there's been many instances where battles are lost because my commander falls while I'm in the middle of something. Now, I have heard that it's really only a demo thing and that C3 Gate is an outlier, but given that I actually play the game, I have much more experience to tell you that that is not the case. Like here, in Xian province, the battle against the Yellow Turban Remnants is, well, the Yellow Turbans are so numerous that I had to stick by Cao Cao for a while, because there's a lot of them, and before we're safe enough to press on. So, if I don't do that, you'll simply die. But I mean, I call it a gripe. Still, because stuff like this isn't completely unique to Origins. You see things like this happening in older Dynasty Warrior games. But I still think that maybe it happens a little too fast in this game, because the morale tips very much to the enemy's favor. Now, take for this example, for this battle of Shu Province. After the central plaza gets taken, the enemy launches an all-out attack on Cao Cao, and I guarantee you that if you're not around to save his ass, he will die. And then we'll have to restart. Well, the key to this battle is to go to the side of the map and take out the ambush troops, which lessen the blows for when the all-out attack happens. Well, it just so has it that while I'm clearing them out, Yu Jin decides that, okay, well, I'm gonna go and take the central plaza with the Qing elites, and cause all sorts of problems. You see, the Qing elites, as you may well know, are former Yellow Turban bandits, recruited from that Xian province battle we just talked about. So anyway, they start looting, everyone gets mad, and, well, anyway, I have to deal with Zhao Yun here and then rush back to Cao Cao because he's getting swarmed by the other half of the map that I haven't taken care of yet. And I'll have you know, even after saving him, he could still die on screen relatively easily. But at least in doing so, I give him a fighting chance by cutting down the enemy numbers before this big mess comes calling. Oh, and another cool thing is that when you go near a ally that's in trouble, which on the map would show like a sweat icon, you can heal them. So that helps a bit. When it just turns into a mud fight, he can still die, and you just can't take your eyes off of him. Anyway, now a lot of these things are hard to spot because you're often fighting, and the chaos of the battlefield means you don't have time to look at all the garbage floating around the UI, so I highly recommend instead to pay attention to the war councils that they have before most battle to formulate a plan. If you can respect the strategy, this sort of thing is still very manageable. Now finally, let's talk a bit about the story. More specifically, the main character, as I think that there's a bit of a contention point to it. In fact, for some people, it's a major contention point. They don't even want to buy the game because of the you're being stuck with this main character. So for a while, I had hoped that this main character would be an actual character from the Three Kingdoms. Like, well, given that he looks like Zhang Ba from Koei's Sangoku Musou Blast, I think it's not unreasonable. I mean, look, this guy has a very long career that spans the entire Origins storyline, and as far as past the death of Cao Cao. Surely his tale, where he goes all over the place fighting all kinds of people, fighting for Lu Bu and all that stuff, well, a tale about him would be interesting, right? Well, nope, because instead, as soon as I saw that I could name him in the beginning of the game, I knew that was not to be. And this whole thing, too, about naming him is really stupid, because now you can name him. That means that when people talk to you, there is this awkward silence whenever your name is mentioned. I think they could have taken a page from like games like Genshin, where he would be called Traveler to kind of make up for that, instead of that nothing. So I've heard that apparently the game has been data mined and there's traces of character creation. So maybe there might have been something along the side of that in the books. But the fact of the matter is that the full game, the only thing you get to customize is the name. No female character selection either, like in Three Hopes or, Three Houses. So, despite the fact that, there's actually a female character counterpart in the story to the main character, they don't have it, which I felt it could have just been easily implemented had their roles swapped. But, cutting corners be cutting corners, so instead you get this guy who doesn't speak, and his ability to not speak is so great he causes others to not be able to speak his name either. Aside from maybe a nickname that Cao Cao gave him later. Anyway, well, I can still live with that. I mean, I don't really have any aspirations to make characters for this anyway. I mean, Wolong was like this, and so this kind of saves me the trouble of having to customize my character, so, whatever, I guess. But I'm sure others would not agree, But, I don't know, I still find the whole thing about not being able to play at least a female character kind of strange, especially given some of the Bond stories later. People tend to get a little too close, and I feel like it might be better if a character is represented during that time. But anyway, when I actually got into the game and see the story, right, I have this Arvo-like character telling me what to do like it's Three Hopes or something, and my character is a mute. Which, like I said, I don't see why. It's not like he can be customized anyway. But, you know, all that aside, the most important thing is that he's a Gary Stu character who can do no wrong. Literally everyone likes him, and anything you say or do will be met with agreeable comments. So it's not like there's really much conflict, you know? Like, there's this blank state character whose main thing is about regaining his memories while fighting through the early stages of the Three Kingdoms. I mean, like, which, mind you, is literally every little battle that is recorded from that time period. So someone could literally sneeze and then it's a battle, which I can appreciate, because, you know, you're fighting guys like Oh Sing or Zhang Chun. Very interesting fights. Not really, they're just generics, but, you know, they added all the battles around that time. Now, because of this, the gameplay as a result can be rather lengthy, especially with that and all the interactions and cutscenes, which, again, like I said, wouldn't bother me so much if the main character isn't such a Gary Stu character, and that, well, things ultimately play out the way they do historically anyway. So, on top of this, you've got this main mute character coming out of nowhere, which everybody praises, and the things you do are already pretty much known for anyone with a modicum of Three Kingdoms knowledge. But I suppose that could be alright for someone new to the series or the time period in general. I mean, they do take some liberties to make things more interesting, such as the characterization of Diao-chan, but ultimately, you know, outside of flexible characters like her, things are, well, as they are recorded, and such plot twists or whatever will have to be reserved for the main character's personal story. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I play like Three Kingdoms for, well, Three Kingdoms, not some wuxia plot featuring some wuxia character. But again, like, you know, this is just a gripe. It doesn't take away from the gameplay, so I don't really care that much. I mean, it could have easily been a Dynasty Warriors 5 Destiny mode thing, but, well, a story-driven game isn't half bad. I mean, I played Fate Samurai Remnant, also from Koei, and the gameplay and story was very similar to Origins, so it's not like, you know, there's really anything new for me there. The main character could have been more interesting, but like I said, I play the game so I can beat people's asses and hone my reactions in my old age, so this does it just fine. Alright, so one last gripe. Well, because this is a story-driven game, there's no multiplayer. Man, that kind of sucks. You know, I really love playing multiplayer in Dynasty Warriors. Those features some of my very best moments, and sure, yeah, I mean, it could make things easier from time to time, but, you know, fun is fun. There's no free mode either. It doesn't bother me too much, because, well, really, those would just enable me to farm certain maps or relive certain battles, but I imagine some people would like that. Ultimately, though, you know, since they so graciously provide us with a demo if you hadn't played it before, you should really give it a try. I mean, talk is cheap. If you can't appreciate the game in action, like actually playing it, then, you know, it would be difficult to actually get into the game, because the story isn't exactly the best part of it, even though, you know, it's the main part. Just being able to control a partner character for a short time doesn't make up for it, nor hide the fact that they slapped on a Dynasty Warriors game on a game that I think would be more like Wolong, to sell Wolong 2 better. I mean, okay, alright, it's still Dynasty Warriors. It has features and musics of it. But I feel like the new features that they have added is enough to justify calling it a new game. And since this is a spin-off, whatever. You know what? Fine, I'll deal with it. So, you know, to enjoy this game, you'll need to be able to respect that. I highly recommend trying out the demo to get a feel if you like the game first, because it's not exactly the same as it always been. Not everyone likes playing Sekiro or Souls-like gameplay where reaction and timing is king, but, you know, if you can get used to it, man, I promise you, it won't be boring. Except maybe for the story. Well, really, I mean, that's about it. I thank you all for watching. Until next time.